Greetings everyone. Welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the films from 2023, Gran Turismo. Before we start, I hope your day be filled with sunshine and smile. Enjoy the story. At the opening scene of the movie, the most accurate racing simulator ever created, Gran Turismo, was created 25 years earlier by Kazunori Yamauchi. Kazunori wanted everyone to be able to race. Jan Martinborough, a resident of Cardiff, Wales, is an avid player of the Gran Turismo video games and has saved up enough cash to purchase a simulator. He works at a clothes store and resides with his brother Kobe and parents Steve and Leslie. Steve, a former football player, believes that Jan's dream of becoming a professional racer is risky and unrealistic, so he opposes it. Nissan marketing executive Danny Moore travels to Tokyo to present to possible investors about a competition that would allow Gran Turismo players to become official racers for Nissan, potentially increasing car sales. Danny thinks 80 million young people visit the Gran Turismo. Their physical cars would enter a whole new category if he could turn one of them into a racing champion. Danny looks for professionals to instruct the racers after the contest is approved, but he is rejected by each one until he comes across former racer Jack Salter as his final option. When Danny approaches Jack, who works as a mechanic, with his idea, Jack declines, claiming that placing video game players in actual race cars could have lethal results. Jack later meets with the conceited, hot-shot up-and-comer racer Nicky Coppa. Jack calls Danny and decides to move forward with the instructor position after Nicky calls him a has-been when Jack tries to offer him advice on controlling his emotions. After playing Gran Turismo at a gamer cafe and getting an exceptional score, Jan later receives an invitation to participate in a simulated race. According to a video posted by Danny, the best racers will receive an invitation to join the recently formed GT Academy in order to compete in real races. Later, Kobe informs Jan that he and his friends are attending an outdoor event. Jan says no at first, but then agrees when Kobe mentions that Audrey, his crush, is coming. Jan visits Audrey and strikes up a conversation. Audrey is a world traveler. Police break up the party, forcing the teenagers to return home. One of Jan and Kobe's friends gets a neighboring car to pass them beer while she is driving Steve's car back, but the two cars collide and draw the attention of the police. Jan presses the gas and speeds off after the other car is stopped, causing the police to follow. Jan manages to get the police off his tail after a short chase. But he and Kobe are shocked to find Steve waiting for them at home, and Jan accepts responsibility for the broken mirror. In an effort to impart life lessons, Steve brings Jan to work with him at a rail yard. Steve says that if Jan doesn't have any other plans, he will either join him at the rail yard or get an education. The race simulation is about to start. After leaving, Jan rides his bike to the cafe and arrives in time to sign in. Using the skills he's learned from playing at home, he starts to outrun the other players and finishes first, earning a spot in the academy. As Jan prepares to leave, Steve warns him once more that driving is dangerous. Jan reminds Steve that he gave him a passion for driving at a young age, and he is determined to disprove everyone. Along with 9 other aspiring racers, including the arrogant Matty Davis, Jan arrives at the GT Academy. Jack gives them a less than inspiring speech, but he still believes this is a bad idea. After that, the racers start going through rigorous physical and driving training. Jan could be the next to be eliminated after 4 of them. Even though he claims to have hit the brakes, he unintentionally crashes while driving around with Jack. After discovering that the brakes were, in fact, defective, Jack informs Jan that a different competitor has been eliminated, allowing him to compete in the championship race. Jan lets out an excited yell. Ahead of the qualifying race, the racers prepare. As a memorial to his father, Jan puts a sticker of his father's football team on his helmet. He starts the race in last position but moves up to the front very quickly. Jan utilizes the strategies he learned from playing the video game to ride alongside Matty as he approaches the leader, and the finish line is narrowly avoided. Danny believes Matty won, but Jack has them watch the video again to make sure Jan won by the narrowest of margins. However, Danny maintains that Matty ought to be selected as the spokesperson because of his greater commercial potential and because Jan is unprepared for the media and uncomfortable in front of the camera. But Jack insists that Jan be picked, is progressing to larger races, and Matty and the other racers congratulate him. Jan goes to Austria to race in order to earn an FIA license, accompanied by Jack and Danny. He starts in dead last place and faces off against Nicky and the other racers. With each race that goes on, Jan gets closer to the finish line, with the exception of one where Nicky causes his car to go off course, in which case he finishes nowhere. Jack informs him that in order for him to receive his license, he must place at least fourth in his remaining race in Dubai. Jan overtakes Nicky during the race, which causes the jerk driver to accelerate too quickly and crash into another vehicle. Although a tire from Nicky's car flies into Jan's windshield, it doesn't cause enough damage to impair his vision, allowing him to finish fourth and get his license. Audrey receives a call from Jan inviting her to Tokyo to witness his official Nissan signing. Following a day spent together, they head to a dance club where they exchange their first kiss. After that, Jan goes to the German racetrack Nürburgring, which Steve and Leslie are following from home. Jan finishes in second place on the 6th lap, right before he accelerates too much on an incline, flipping his car over and causing a severe collision. After witnessing it on TV, his parents get scared, and Jack goes with Jan to the hospital. Danny and Jack tell Jan what happened after he wakes up. They reassure Jan that it wasn't his fault, despite the tragic death of a spectator in the collision. He starts to cry and expresses his desire to be left alone. He blames himself for everything that happened and finds it impossible to even talk to his parents. When Jan is well enough to drive to the scene of the crash, Jack tells him what happened to end his racing career. He was driving at the Le Mans circuit when he got into an accident that claimed the life of another driver. After that, Jack gave up racing and regretted not realizing how good he could have become. He now wants Jan to protect him from suffering the same fate. To complete his lap, he lets Jan take over the wheel. When Jan and Jack meet with Danny, he informs them that the other racing teams are attempting to create evidence against them and push for the elimination of sim races. Alongside Matty and fellow GT Academy driver Antonio Cruz, they still intend to compete in the Le Mans 24-hour race with their own Nismo team. Jan will have the support of his family, Audrey, and other GT Academy drivers at Le Mans. When Steve pays Jan a visit while he's getting ready, he apologizes for not providing the help he needed earlier. Now that the race has begun, Jan, Matty, and Antonio will take turns driving. Despite being involved in a fiery collision, one of the rival drivers escapes unharmed. Thinking about the crash, Jan begins to lose concentration when he gets up to drive. Jack assists Jan in regaining his composure by playing Kenny G and Enya. Jan has to outpace Nicky in the last hour and a lap of the race to start moving up to the front. He recalls using his own strategy to outperform other drivers while driving the Le Mans track from the video games. By employing the same strategy, he manages to overtake Nicky, and the two of them race head-to-head to the finish line, where Jan victors, while Nicky and his team accept their loss. The entire team as well as his family go to the podium to celebrate. The ending text states that Jan Martinborough and Team Nissan's victory at Le Mans changed motorsports forever. Jan has competed in over 200 races to date, and he even played his own stunt double in this film. Pictures of the real Jan and his family are shown alongside their film counterparts.